Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. At whatever time of day it is that you receive this message, I pray that your mind, your heart, and your spirit are all poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. A little bit later on today, I'm going to go live and I'm going to share some great stories of the School of Orisa Studies. And I really want anybody who is considering joining the school to check it out, right? And really give serious thought to the things that are going to be shared during that live communication. My goal is to appeal to all of those people out there who have been looking at the school, you've been consuming the information, you've been reading my blogs, you've been watching my videos, you follow my posts on social media, and you really want to learn. You know that it's important for you to get some kind of formalized instruction in this tradition, but for whatever reason you have not pushed the button, you've not made that commitment to dive in, right, and take that really pivotal step in transforming your life and elevating your practice. And the reason why that's so important to me is because, number one, I realize that how important learning is. Learning really is your highest priority in this tradition, more than acquiring things, more than participating in ceremonies and going to parties, more than wearing certain clothing or beads and stuff like that. Much more important than that is learning. Okay, and on a deeper level, beyond just learning, it's learning how to learn this material. Right? There's a methodology that is necessary to actually learn this material. And I'll give you an example. My first teacher, Baba Lade, was also a musician, and at the time that I met him, I was also playing a bit of music. I played the trumpet, and I remember talking to Baba Lade about playing the trumpet and methodology, and I had learned the Western method for playing the trumpet, different kinds of scales and exercises and drills and all that. And I remember asking Baba Lade, Baba, is there a Yoruba method for trumpet? And he thought about it for a second. He said, no. What you're talking about is two totally different systems. The trumpet, as we know it, with these three valves and the bell and all that, that comes out of a specific tradition. It's made a certain way, and it is to be mastered according to the logic of its maker. Okay, it is to be mastered according to the logic of its creator, of its maker. So you can't take the logic of anything of drumming or dancing or Ifa divination. You can't take that logic and that methodology and apply it to trumpet. It doesn't work that way, right? And so it brings to my mind something that I had also learned about religion, very similar, which is it's easier for a Christian to become a Muslim or for a Jew to become a Christian than it is for any of them to become a Buddhist, for any of them to become a Hindu. It's easier, right? Because the logic of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are more similar to one another, right? Even though the content may differ, and they're going to argue and have certain discrepancies about where they place certain values, but the logic of their systems is very congruent, okay? They're very congruent, and this is why they butt heads, right? Because they're arguing in the same way. They're trying to prove the same thing in slightly different ways, right? Another way to look at it is in terms of language. It's easier for someone who speaks Spanish to learn French, and easier for someone who speaks Portuguese to learn Spanish than it is for any of them to learn to speak Chinese. The logic of French, Spanish, and Portuguese is much more congruent with each other than any of them is with the logic of Chinese or the logic of Korean or the logic of Yoruba. The requirements for accuracy and the structure and the layout of the language, very different. Very different. Very different. So it is that the world view of Yoruba people, of Orisa lifestyle, is radically different than the worldview of the West. Right? Western civilization has a different logic than Yoruba civilization. And those logics produce different institutions. And you can't just transfer one over the other. So what I'm trying to say is that because the logic is so different, it's crucial. Like your number one priority to be successful in this tradition is to learn. Highest priority, learn. Particularly in your first 10 years. You got to learn, because in that learning process, you're going to unlearn. Okay, and you're gonna come to the conclusion. For example, these are some things that you may see, and you understand. Okay, this is a result of not changing the decision-making process and the logic, that some of our people struggle with. When folks want to make these blanket equivalencies, anytime you see something yellow, that's Oshun. Nope, it's not. Anytime it's honey is Oshun. No, it's not. Anytime you see a bird, it means that one Yamiagba. Nope, that is not what that is. Anytime it's red, then it belongs to Shango. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Right? And those are very simple examples, but they're very prominent in certain circles, where people could be around for years. They could be around for decades and call themselves practicing Orisa lifestyle, but the logic that they're applying is no different from the person who said Eshu is Satan, right? Because their logic, they're trying to apply some kind of logic that doesn't work. The same people will tell you that Olodumare is God. It doesn't make sense. It cannot be. It cannot be. But you can't understand that until you remap your decision making. Right? You learn to think like an ancient. You learn to think like an original. When you learn to think the way the indigenous Yoruba thought in the beginning of time, then you're going to be able to approach this tradition with the correct lens. You're going to be able to make sense of things as they truly are. And you're not going to be trying to impose some other foreign logic onto it that would lead you to believe that God is Olodumare, and that Eshu is Satan, and that everything yellow belongs to Oshun, and everything red belongs to Shango. No. So your highest priority is learning. And it's particularly learning how to learn this tradition. Once you learn how to learn, which is remapping your decision-making, remapping the logic that you use to draw conclusions. Once you learn how to learn, all the new experiences and new encounters that you have are going to be accurate. They're going to align, right? What you see and what you interpret is going to align with what truly is, according to the worldview of Ifa. And so these are the kinds of lessons that we learn in the School of Orisa Studies. These are the kinds of things that are transmitted in the basic teachings about the calendar, the teachings about reciting Ijuba. Everything is building. I placed all of these things and I explained them and teach you how to internalize the principles behind the content in a way that will gradually remap your decision-making process and ideally enable you to enjoy the kind of logic that Shango adhered to in order to become Shango, to help you to enjoy the kind of logic that Oromila enjoyed that allowed him to become Oromila, right? The kind of logic that enabled Ogun to become recognized as Ogun, right? It isn't imitating the deities that makes Orisa lifestyle the most important thing that you'll ever do. It's learning how to think and interpret reality in the way that the deities thought and interpreted reality. That is your greatest opportunity in this practice. So I want to invite you to visit orishalifestyle.com. I hope you'll join us today as we go live on YouTube and on Facebook, and get a glimpse of what I'm pointing to and what I'm alluding to through the great stories of the School of Orisa Studies. So I look forward to seeing you there, and I pray that all is well with you and your loved ones until then. Bye for now. Odabo.